How far can you really go on holiday on £100? What about £500 or even £1,000 per person? I've done all three, and what I found might really surprise you. Spoiler, one of them took me nearly halfway across the world. Alright, here's the deal. I've picked three travel budgets, £100, £500 and £1,000. And instead of just dreaming about where you could go, I've actually been to most of these, or found deals so real they made my credit card twitch. No trust funds, no brand sponsorships, just a regular guy obsessed with squeezing every last drop of value from my budget. If you just sat there thinking, wait, this is just going to be bunk beds in Bratislava, that actually sounds quite good though. Stick around and you'll be surprised what you can get if you plan smart. Hey, if you like the sound of budget travel that doesn't feel budget, why not drop us a like so the algorithm knows we're onto something. So strap in and we'll start off with the £100 option. Let's face it, £100 for some people is just a decent night out. But here's the thing, £100 is also low enough that you don't need to save for months, or you might do it instead of a night out. And you'd be amazed at what you can actually do with it. I'm talking return flights and accommodation, real holidays, not sleep in a bus station and hope for the best type energy. And let me prove it. Stockholm for 2 nights, including a stay in a converted jumbo jet, that was just £70 a person for 3. Sofia, 3 nights at the Christmas markets, snow lights and a glass of mulled wine, for less than the cost of a London cocktail, £82 per person. Krakow, a beautiful early spring break, and this was school half term. 3 nights in a boutique central apartment for only £90. One of my favourite cities to wander, snack and repeat. Athens, winter sun in December, rooftop views of the Acropolis, amazing food, £92, and I swear to God it didn't drop below 20 the whole time we were there. And because I loved it so much, I went back again in the spring, and this time it cost me a whopping £96. And now for the swan song in my £100 basket. Suin and I are off to Marrakesh late June, so you're talking peak season. Okay, it's not quite school holiday season. We've got 7 nights, flights and a central riad for £100 each. That's not clickbait, that's booked. Now don't get me wrong, there are compromises. No check bags, sometimes an early flight, off-season dates, but if you've got a passport and £100 you're halfway there. And if you're thinking I'd love to try this, hit that like button. The more of you watching, the more of these deals I'll dig up. Deal? Now if you're a bit of a Billy No Mates or you want to go on your own, you are going to really struggle to get this below £100. But I've checked back on these deals, and looking at the flights and the accommodation, I would say for most of those, if you added about 30%, that would be what it'd be costing you to go on your own. So let's look at the Morocco deal. You're talking about 130 for the same deal travelling alone. Boom. Mind you, not sure I'd go to Morocco on my own. £500, now we're talking. Or in my case, if I'm spending £500, I want a lot of bang for my buck. This is the budget that gets you out of Europe, or lets you do Europe properly. Let's start big. Toronto in May. Flights and the motel in Niagara Falls. We managed to get that for $350 each, but I think the booking gods were on my side for this one. I've not been able to find it for that price since, but you can still get it this side of 500. And because I couldn't help myself, I did a 24-hour detour to New York. Well, you couldn't be that close and not go. No, it wasn't boiling hot, but it wasn't packed either. Just good vibes and cheap flights. That sweet shoulder season magic. And here's one I nearly booked for this year. A week in Dubai, staying on the actual QE2, the one that used to sail the world, for £430. I was so tempted to hit the button on it, but I did a bit of searching, and it turns out that's about the hottest time to be in Dubai. It's like trying to walk through a hairdryer. But still, that's a wild experience for less than some UK cottages in Cornwall. I'm still beginning to regret it. Most of the attractions are air-conned, the ship will be air-conned. It would have been doable, but I think you'd have been out at night more than during the day. Maybe next year. Now, if you've still got that £500 and you want some big-name destinations, you are in luck. I've seen 5-night breaks in New York for pretty close to that. Yes, you're not going to be staying on the Upper West Side, but it is doable. Bit of a hint for New York, if you can get your flight there cheap, if you stay on the Newark side of the water, you can get some really cheap motels. But this is also the price for the family man. You're talking summer holidays, they are doable for under £500. I've found Spain, Greece and Turkey for just under 500. I even found one in Zante, which is one of my dream islands that I'd love to go to. And it wasn't the poshest hotel, but it was still self-catering. That's quite handy. And that was just under £500. You'd have needed 3 of you to make that pay. But here's a top tip. If you can hold off till the last couple of weeks of the UK school holidays, middle of August onwards, a lot of the kids have gone back to school, certainly in Spain and Greece, which that does bring the prices down a little. And when we went to Salou a couple of years ago, the local businesses were really glad to see us because it was starting to get a bit quiet for them. Busy enough for everywhere to still be open, but quiet enough to get good service. Or maybe you're prepared to rough it a bit. 2 weeks in Thailand or Vietnam. You'd be in a hostel or a guest house, but you can just about do it on £500. You might not get the full fortnight, you might be talking 12 days, and you've got to play your flights. You will be changing somewhere at that price, but it is doable. And we all know that once you get there, you're not going to spend a hell of a lot more. So what would you do with £500? Would you struggle to get a guest house in the UK, or would you go further afield? Bear in mind, there's nothing wrong with the UK. You know, when I was in my £100 section, you can do a weekend in the peak times, London, York. There's a lot you can do with £100 even in the UK. Before we move on to that magic £1,000 section, and it's a place I don't go very often, let's have a couple of tips on how I find them. I always start with Google Flights to find the cheapest dates, not just destinations. Flexibility is where the magic is. Then you feed those dates into package sites like Expedia or Jet2. Sometimes a package is cheaper than booking the flight, but certainly once you've got those dates, go looking for your accommodation on Expedia. And don't ignore weird timings. Tuesday flights, early morning returns, that's where the big savings hide. But sometimes the really late return is where the saving is. That gives you a whole day in resort. What we often do for those is we will book an excursion on the last day that just eases you out nicely. But here's another tip when you're using Google Flights. Of late, I've started only looking for one way. So you look for your cheapest day to fly to your destination, and then you reverse it for coming back. And this was how I got Marrakesh dirt cheap. It actually worked out cheaper to go for 7 days than it did for 3, because the saving on flights was so good that you didn't mind paying the low rate for the Riyadh. So if you search for your one ways first, you've got the 2 cheapest dates. Then go back in and put those 2 dates in as a return. It can only go down. Boom. Alright, now we're in the big leagues, £1,000. At this price you can either go big once or clever twice, and if you've seen my latest video, you'll know which camp I'm in. All 3 Malaysia options I featured, including the luxury hotel and the rooftop pool vibes, came in under £1,000 per person. One of them is even a package with British Airways. No thinking, just press the button and pay monthly. That's long haul, that's adventure, that's poolside with sandbar and sunrise. Now Tokyo, that's a different beast. My first trip there cost us £1,100 each as a package, and I don't regret a penny. But I was in beginner mode back then. Now I know there are ways to get it under £1,000, especially if you time it right and skip the big names. But 1100's only just over £1,000. And if you're a loyal BA flyer like me, keep an eye on their deals. I've seen Malaysia for £580 return, Thailand in full 4-star comfort for under £900, Florida for less than a UK Centre Parks weekend. But here's the wild card at this budget, and if you've got the time off work, you can stop thinking about one holiday and start thinking about 2. Don't forget I did Canada and New York for £350. I did Athens twice, Sofia, Paris and Bilbao, all under £100. So yeah, you could spend £1,000 on one unforgettable trip, or you could do a year's worth of travel like I did and still come home with change for a coffee in Pret. As long as it's not the Pret in the airport, they're a bit expensive. So big splash or smart spend, tell me in the comments how you would spend £1,000. I'm hoping to be spending £1,000 and going to Malaysia next year. We'll see what happens. So there you have it, £100, £500 and £1,000. Real budgets, real trips, and real proof that you don't need to be rich to see the world. You do need to be flexible, you need to be curious, and you do need to be a little bit obsessed with travel deals, like I am. But whether you're booking a £70 weekend or a £900 2-week adventure, the point is travel isn't a luxury, it's just a puzzle. And when you know how to play the game, you get to see some incredible things. If you've enjoyed this, give it a like, it helps more than you know. But what I really love, I'm getting a massive hug from all the people that are commenting these days. I love talking to you guys, and I love passing on any tips I've got and hearing yours. And if you're really ready to see where £1,000 really gets you long haul, check out my latest video where I planned a 2-week trip to Malaysia, 3 different angles. It might just be the inspiration you need. I know I'm that close to pressing the button myself. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, hit subscribe for more real world travel tips, done the budget way, done the real way. I'm Ian, and I'll see you in the next one.